Good tidings, ladies and gentlemen of the Lodge, and welcome back. We are serving up another Kingdom Hearts video for you all today. This one playing off our most recent Kingdom Hearts theory on the channel, revolving around whether or not the player will have a third life in the Kingdom Hearts series. Many in the comments section, as well as myself, pondered and theorized whether or not Sora could be this player's third life. I myself am on the fence about this issue, so in today's video I will be building the case for and against Sora being the player's third life. So if that piques your interest, then brace yourself as we dive deep into the world of Kingdom Hearts. So let's start with the case for Sora being the player. Well, let's begin with a point brought up in a prior video. In a nutshell, the player deliberately brings up that he has had 2 lives and/or incarnations. It is my suspicion that in very Kingdom Hearts fashion, there will be a third incarnation somewhere down the line. Now with that said, it's very possible that Sora could be that player's third life. Let's start with something a little on the nose, that perhaps Sora being our main playable character and the series lead could be a wink and a nod to this fact. But let's also bring up that perhaps if this were to be true, this entire scene from Kingdom Hearts 3 not only would have new context to not only make more sense, but also be more impactful. Between Ephemer's appearance and his friendly demeanor towards Sora, as well as the appearance of all the players from Union Cross, suddenly this scene is a little less Deus Ex Machina, and now with this new context makes an already beautiful scene even more stunning. The next point I would bring up also would be that with this added context, the collision of both Sora and Strelitzia in Kingdom Hearts 4 now has a much bigger impact. Strelitzia always had her eye on the player, and wouldn't it be funny if this was finally her opportunity to not only meet them, but work alongside them? Let us also not forget Ventus, and perhaps this, with Sora being the player, could also provide further insight to his heart laying dormant within Sora. Perhaps it was a familiar place. This next and final point that I will bring up actually comes to us from Mary Scary, who dropped this in a comment on my latest video, where she mentions that Sora being a dull, ordinary boy could play into the fact that the player was one among thousands of other wielders in Daybreak Town, was not a Union leader, but was just a standard wielder among all the rest. And just to go back to Sora being our main playable character for a minute, let us also recall that now with the series exploring bloodlines, it would certainly fit the bill. So with that laid out, that would be my thoughts on the case for Sora to be the player. So if there is anything I missed or worth bringing up, which I'm sure there is, feel free to drop it in the comments below. So now let's build the case against Sora being the player character in Kingdom Hearts. My first point against this would be the lack of the player remembering his memories. We see that the player had some retention of memory in his second life, but with our boy Sora, that pattern does not persist. The next point I would bring up would be all of his interactions with Lushu/Xigbar. Obviously, there are no shortage of these interactions, but absolutely none of them allude to Sora being the player character or Xigbar recognizing him in that way. The next rebuttal I would have to this would be a point I brought up in the previous segment. Sora may be our main playable character, but he's not our only playable character. Whether we look to Birth by Sleep, 358 over 2 days, or the majority of Dream Drop distance when factoring in the endgame, or even all these other segments from Kingdom Hearts 3 and especially Remind. Many other characters are playable within the mainline games. Had Sora been the one and only playable character, I feel that point would carry more weight. So my final rebuttal would be the confrontations between Xehanort and Sora. Xehanort, who was made aware of the time in Daybreak Town, as well as Unreality, and was fostered by the player character, did not feel any type of way towards Sora that would indicate that he is connected to the player in that way. So again, with all that laid out, that would be my thoughts on the case against Sora being the player. If there is anything I missed or worth bringing up, which again I'm sure there is, feel free to drop it in the comments below. So again, with all of that laid out, what do you think, dearest viewer? Do you think there is a chance Sora is the third incarnation of the player? Or do you think that's an entirely separate bloodline? Feel free to let me know. But anyway, you ladies and gentlemen, be good out there. Be good to yourselves and each other. And I will see all of you beautiful sickos and normies next time.